if y plus 3 equals the square root of c times x squared minus 7 over p, give the equation for x in terms of c, p, and y. So we're essentially rearranging this equation to make x the subject. So it'll be something like x equals maybe some numbers, maybe some square root symbols, maybe some squareds, we don't know. Right, but x will be by itself on one side equals some expression. So let's tackle this one. So notice the x term, it's buried quite deep. Right, it needs saving. So it's attached to a squared. Okay, so the last thing we'll do is a square root. It's also attached to a minus 7. So that means we'd need to add 7 as our second to last step. It's also attached to multiplied by a c and divided by a p. So at some point we'd need to divide by c and times by p, right, the inverse. And it's all under a square root. So to undo a square root, we will square both sides. So that will be our first step. Right, we're going to slowly unravel the x. So squaring both sides. So square. Y plus 3 will now be squared. Let's give myself some more room here. Oh, come on. Right there. Stop. Thank you. So again, equation, what we do on one side, we have to do on the other. And so on the right, we've eliminated the square root symbol. All right, it's already looking better. So we've peeled back the first layer of the onion. What a great analogy. Not really. And then, okay, let's think. So the C and the P, so by BEDMAS, multiply, divide. So we can times both sides by P to eliminate the P from the denominator. Awesome. Now we can divide both sides by C. All right, it's getting even simpler now. You might be thinking, all right, let's square root to get x by itself, but unfortunately that minus 7 is in the way. So we'll want to add 7 to both sides first. So adding 7. And now we can square root, just to save some writing because we're running out of room here. I'll square root in this step as well. Like so. And then, of course, when we square root x squared, that just becomes x. So what we're left with is x will equal p times y plus 3 squared over c plus 7 all square root. And notice this plus 7 isn't in the numerator. That's very important. If you put it in the numerator, you'd have to write it as plus 7c so that it will then cancel. But so just be careful when you're adding stuff to both sides, if it is in the numerator or not. In our case, it wasn't. So I'm writing that far enough away that a marker won't be confused. All right, and we've rearranged for x. So just to summarize the steps, right, we're rearranging for x. So if we zoomed right in, it's x squared. So our last step would be square root, which it was. Then our second to last step would be adding 7. Then before that, we would multiply by p and divide by c. That order didn't matter too much, so we could have switched those around. And then our first step was to square both sides to eliminate the square root. So that's it. Can get excellence now.